Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Al-Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com, and today we'll continue with our series from 0 to 1, where we will be getting some inspiring people to tell us more about their journey in the medical device field. And this time we have Helene Quie from Qmed Consulting. So Helene, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the invitation. I think
Thank you
this is
for
the second
accepting.
time, right?
Yeah. You were already coming previously for clinical investigation, discussion,
Mm.
etc. But this time it's more like explaining the journey that you had.
Yeah,
Because when we discussed, it's nearly like 20 years that now you are doing this with Qmed Consulting. So the point is here just to explain to us a bit more about you and everything. And I hope this will inspire people or avoid them to maybe make some mistakes because we are all making mistakes.
yeah, definitely.
Maybe to start on this interview, so if you can walk us through your journey and explain us
Sure.
since 2006 mainly what you have done also.
Yeah, sure. So I started out after being employed at different companies, medical device companies in Denmark. I I basically started out as a one-man band, sitting and writing clinical evaluations, and I found out very quickly this joy about sharing the knowledge and the competences I gained over the years within medical devices and use that for different people. So, in a way, turn it around and try and adapt the skills to different scenarios. And moving forward from there, people, it wasn't the intention to become really a organized company. It was only actually meant as being a break between working for a startup company and then I was trying what to do next. Because I was basically exhausted by working at this startup company. It was very turbulent and as it always is. So it was meant as a break, but ended up being, as you hear now, almost 20 years. And it has developed into a very nice, solid organization with about 40 employees, with office in inner Copenhagen and employees throughout Europe and partnerships throughout the world and working specifically with medical devices, which I think I just love doing, which is what drives everything is this really wish to, we say enabling better health, but it's the wish to see that the ideas is really being used at patients and that it helps patients get better, or we can diagnose better, or we can treat better. So it comes really back from my, I think, days at high school where I wanted to become a physician, but I was too lazy. So I didn't have the grades. I don't know why I was too lazy, but I found a spot here where I can really still be part of that, but not be a physician, which is really a big joy.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, myself, I wanted to be a physician also. I
Yeah,
made, in France, we have what we call the numerus clausus, which means that you have a certain number of people that can pass to the next year.
yeah,
Never have been able to pass, so then I choose biomedical engineering after that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
same feeling as you. I'm not a physician, but I'm working with physicians, and it's like
yeah.
also a great feeling here. In terms of what you said at the beginning, you were working for people before to start that. Do you think, because I had some questions like that, do you think this is something that is necessary or mandatory before you open your consulting firm, if I can say, or do you think that somebody that has just jumped out of school can open this kind of thing, or being a consultant one man show as you mentioned at the beginning?
Mhm. I think it really comes down to the personality and the desires you have, and where you want to bring it. Because what I have realized is that being in a small company with yourself or with a few employees requires something different than being in a 40 people company, organization wise, and what roles and responsibilities lies in the different employees. But I think that everyone that really that has that in them to drive this themselves and want to explore that field can do it. But I do think that there are limitations in understanding how other companies are working would be something that these people are missing, understand organizational culture and reporting and that we sometimes, because we're specialists,
Yeah.
we underestimate communication routes and making sure the stakeholders are informed and the reporting, even though that we deliver a good technical work, the specialist work, there are other stakeholders in the companies that needs to be informed about that. And I think that requires that you either just know it by, because you heard it from somewhere, or that you've been in an organization and learned how to navigate that these different organizations and understand small, mid-sized, and large companies, hospitals, how are they working, especially if you want to grow as a consultant. This, I think, is key. But I think anyone who is skilled and want to share their knowledge should try and do it because it's very, you learn a lot.
So, if you remember now when you started as a consultant mainly, do you have some memory of this was really difficult at the beginning, or this was really something that, oh, I didn't expect that, etc. Because I mean, we discussed that with a lot of other consultants that we are discussing, working on that, or as consultants, saying, thinking at the beginning that, oh, now I'm my own boss, so I can take my own holidays, I can go to a beach and have my computer and do my things there, etc. So
Yeah,
you see those kind of dreams, if I can say. But when you
yeah.
arrive to the reality, it's not really the same. So do you have those moments saying, oh, I was not expecting that?
I think for sure that now I come from a family where we work a lot, and I grew up with my mom, and she worked all the time. And so I'm kind of raised into that. So, but my husband, he say I have several years of vacation on my that I still need to to take because you don't have that freedom. You lose that. At least I know maybe a younger generation would prioritize it differently, but and maybe it's because the size of the company that we have, but I would always be on my toes to ensure that there is salary for the next month. Not
Exactly.
that it's any urgency, but it's just that inner fear. I think that most uh, people that have their own business would be, this is not where I want to go. I would rather sacrifice myself a little bit and my free time and my flexibility and the balance and all that to be sure that I don't take the risk of any employees. So that pressure you of course needs to be able to manage and sacrifice some of your time. I think that's one thing. And then I think what I also experienced very early stage is that learning that even though that you are good at some things, it might not be what the client actually asked for.
Exactly.
So you need to learn to listen. You might be really good at, for instance, literature search and review, and you can do that to the really to the point, very, very detailed, 100%, maybe 120%. But there are clients that really, when you listen to them, they want 80%. And you need to be able to compromise on your own professionalism and also, rest in yourself and say, it's good enough. And now I haven't tried that. I think I tried it with one client where we were so low on the percentage that we said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
We are not going to work together. Please, good luck and find someone else. It happens really rarely. You can normally always find a solution, but I think this about listening is really important because otherwise you might either go too high or too low or, go way off, and that gives unhappy clients, and unhappy clients, then you get unhappy, right?
Exactly. And I think it's important what you're saying here. This is also one of the advantages is also that you can choose with whom you will be working. If you are not satisfied or ethically it's not working for you, you can say no and it's over.
Yeah. Then you say nicely, thank you, but no thank you. And you give a good, solid explanation. You don't say that they are unethical, but you just say it's not our métier, or I think you should find someone else who is with it, whatever. But it's really, there are a lot of risks in this that I have also realized during the years. that you take on a lot of responsibilities in these companies, and you can put yourself at a great risk in how you engage yourself with these company, and you have to be very strict on how you document and tell clients that when they cross a line, it's okay, you cross that line and I'm all with you, but you cross the line and the risk is, and then make sure that that is documented and that the client knows about it. Because I learned the hard way that again the ears, they might hear what you say but not understand what you're actually saying, and you are the specialist, so you have an extended obligation actually to make sure that that it's very clear in the language towards the client. Many of them are, unknown, incompetent, and they are doing the best they can. But you can stand and look at, I've done this for 30 years now, working within medical devices, so I can very easily see when someone is really trying,
Yeah.
but maybe only know 20% of this field, and they are going with a pace of, I don't know, 180 miles an hour. And this is, just doomed to fail at a certain point, and you don't want to be in the middle of that, but still you want to help. So it's that really very fine balance that we are trying every day to find with all our consultants.
Meet Alex. He needs to create an electronic instruction for use. With EasyEyeView, he uploads the document and in just a second gets a QR code. The code is printed on the packaging and shipped with the product. The user receives it, scan it, and the eye view appears fast and always up to date. Simple, fast, paperless. EasyEyeView, the smart way to manage your eye views.
Yeah, and what you said is also interesting related to talking to the customer and maybe he's not hearing exactly what you are saying or not understanding, etc. So we had
Yeah,
this experience also where now we are making meeting minutes always with really what was said during the meeting minutes,
yeah,
message with sent to everybody so that they
yeah,
know. And
yeah,
then when there is an issue, we say, yeah, but that meeting at that time we told you and here is it's written, etc., etc. Because as you mentioned, there are some situation where, and it's normal when people try to protect themselves and say, oh, I missed that. I didn't understood that, so I will put that on the consultant because he's not part of the company, or I'll get fired or whatever, something like that. So then it's also about you as consultant to be protected also because sometimes
yeah.
it can happen. It's not like we are in a funny
No,
world or
no,
in a
no.
peaceful world. It's also
Yeah,
yeah, some kind of situation can happen like that.
yeah, definitely. And I think it's important, and uh, of course, when you go into a relationship with these clients, and that's where you should be, right? You should be very close because you're communicating about some very difficult things. So having a very open dialogue. But again, this when people don't have the skills, it's really and you can't ask them to get the skills. You
Yeah,
just have to wait until and keep on. You prompt these questions and being sure that they understand the risk. And then one day they would say, hopefully, ah, now I get it. I know why you said that. But sometimes they also said, but why didn't you say that when they get a rejection from the FDA or the notified body or whatever there? And I told you so, but that you can't say that to a client.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to say it nicely also.
Yeah.
So over the now nearly the 2 decades that you had with Qmed Consulting. So as you said at the beginning, you started yourself as a one-man show. What was the trajectory that made you change or increase or add more services, or what was
Yeah.
the point where you say, oh, now I need to make something more and I will
Yeah.
not be anymore alone. I will be maybe with something else, or I will offer some other services.
I think in the start it wasn't really by intention, it was more actually to be together with other people. So it's very alone to be a one-man
It's
band. And there is a social aspect in being together with others that have similar mindset. I really like that. Um, and then I think I really enjoy the journey from the idea to the end. So and maybe it's because I've tried different things that I enjoy seeing that flow, and therefore to get the flow from, help clients really to come with just a piece of paper and a napkin with a drawing, and then see in the end that it really turns out as a device that's being used on patients and it can be sold. That is really a joy for me. And to do that, you need different services. And I think that's why we broaden out the scope. And also that we have found partnerships that are really specialized to specific products, and that we can help a lot of different clients in obtaining that. Despite, where on the journey they are, we can listen to them and then jump in and say, oh, we hear you are there. Maybe we should move into this. Is it your verification and validation plan, or is it your clinical studies, or very early stage strategic work? Maybe we conduct some workshops. So we try really to accommodate that journey. And I think that's what scoped out really where we are today and also where we will move forward, because I think this is a little special for us that we can both run the regulatory quality part, move into the clinical part, and jump into an operational setting with a clinical study, then get it CE marked through the notified body or FDA primarily, and then move into a PMCF setting. Normally companies will grow and then take over themselves at a certain stage, and we're only supporting. But that is really, I think, what set the stage for Qmed, what it is today and what it will also be in the future.
And you alone vs versus you with more people, it's more difficult, I suppose. It's not like the balance is not
It,
like easy to manage, because here it's managing people also here now.
there is much more people management, and I move more into actually sales. I still have I enjoy being in projects. I think sometimes my colleagues, they think I should stay away. Have the old lady go somewhere else. But I really like to bring the perspective, that there are mountains you can crawl, but maybe you can find, a little sneaky route. And that is where I think the many years of experience is really helping. Is to always ask the questions: is this really needed to fulfill the requirement? Can we go halfway here and then maybe save time or money or whatever, and still be compliant? So I do still have the oversight of some of our larger projects, and also very difficult projects. And then I moved into sales, and then realizing that people management is a big part of that, and I might not have the best skills for that. So we have hired in on this side and have very skilled people looking after that everyone is feeling good. And also because we moved into being a multicultural company with employees not only in Denmark but in throughout Europe, and it just requires a lot of color and a lot of understanding that I just don't have it. So I have good people to help me with that.
Yeah. So now, since those the times you started your company until now, EU MDR are happened in the middle. So
Yeah.
there are some change of regulation and everything. So can you tell us, maybe, did this change the way you were working, or did this, yeah, make you reconsider some activities, or yeah, how, I mean, was this a revolution for you, or not at all?
I think we always worked with very high risk class products. So mainly for these products, for very few of them, it was really a revolution. So for orthopedic products, for instance, MDR was a smash, where it was almost, even though it was lower risk class or considered. There were no clinical data for these
Yeah.
products before, and all these things, right? And now you have to have it. So I think it's not so much the processes than the actually products and the manufacturers need for extra data, but the way to get there. I don't see a huge change, but I of course see modernizing and development, which is good. But for companies, for sure, there are some of them. It's really companies are dying due to MDR, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't, they simply can't provide the data, and it's a matter of also maybe the company should have realized it a little before and started up earlier, because where I see it fails is simply companies haven't in timely manner started collecting the evidence or making the gaps, just thought that everything was okay and then continued until the very last day, and then it is almost going wrong, right? This is where I see that it has an impact. But I think, and with all the new initiatives, I think MDR was setting the bar really up high. But now I see also trends, to maybe again find a little better balance. The engagement with the notified bodies that we have with the competent authorities, trying to mimic a little bit what the FDA has tried for many years. I see a lot of good trends. I have really good conversations with both authorities and notified bodies. There is no one here who is trying to obstruct anything. So they're there to help us. And if we listen again, the ears, then I think actually it should be achievable if you plan well ahead.
So for me, I was surprised as you for the clinical data that people had, which was nearly nothing because they were always trying to be equivalent to something else, or
Yeah,
they use the methodology of the US, like substantial equivalence. Like if I am equivalent to a device that is already on the market, it's like my device is fine.
yeah,
But what I was also surprised is that they think that they had great products
yeah,
because they are selling that since 20 years. It says it's fine, it's okay. But when we ask, do you have proofs of that clinical data? And it's like,
nah,
the proof is the fact that I have not received any complaints.
yeah,
It's not like have
yeah,
clinical data. So this was my surprise because then I had the feeling I said, oh, I didn't understood or know that MDD was, I mean, not so strict in terms of clinical data. I thought that because it's a medical product, for sure everything will be fine, etc. But we know that with all the scandals that
mm,
happened, maybe it was not true. But this was my surprise for the MDR. So I don't know if it's the same for you also.
yeah, it's the same. And I think it's because we worked a lot with clinical evaluation, it quite quickly when the MDR turned up and the new guidances on the clinical evaluation, the fact that you were forced into defining your performance and safety objectives, thinking about how am I measuring that my product is working and how am I demonstrating it's safe, then you very quickly have to turn into numbers and not just stomach
Yeah.
feeling. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that journey because it made perfect sense in my, I have, squares in here.
But you're
So,
right. I had this feeling because when I read some clinical evaluation that were on GMD, it was like,
yeah,
I think that my
yeah,
device has more benefit than risk. So it
yeah,
was like, what you think? I mean, thinking is
yeah.
enough.
What are you feeling? You don't feel,
Exactly.
this is numbers. So it really, that initiated that journey. And then I think that if you strategically do that in a good way and communicate with your notified bodies, help them in understanding and also asking the right questions, then there is a large, both opportunity and chance that you will get through. But you have to learn the language, and it moves away from that stomach feeling and feeling overall, which is a benefit for all of us, right?
Exactly, yeah. And when we talked about this equivalency, so this was, if I remember, this was already existing before, but
Yeah,
with the NDCG, it was maybe more structured, if I can say.
yeah.
So did you had some situation with some clients where you told them maybe, oh, you were telling that your device is equivalent before with that, but it's not true, or that there is no equivalency, so you have to redo clinical investigation? Or, I mean, was there those situation where, yeah, it was difficult, if I can say, for some manufacturers, as you mentioned before, that maybe even they are closing now?
I think we had a couple of cases where equivalents were no longer a possibility, basically. The argumentation was, or justification was too weak, and they had to move into a more detailed PMCF. But for these products, normally the level of PMCF is compared to other products quite low. But normally these companies are not used to collecting clinical evidence, so it seems like a big burden to them. And then I think also we experienced that the equivalence rule are kind of settling again, that is not a closed door like it was when the MDR came out.
Yeah.
First we said, no way, no one can ever claim again equivalence. And it's like when you ask the even for structured dialogue with the notified bodies, and they try to ask in all different kind of angles to really to challenge their statements, but they keep on saying yes, equivalence is possible. And then of course I will trust that that this is a doable route. So I think it's kind of finding its way again for the products where it's reasonable, and I think that's fair, because otherwise we will there is not enough patience in this world to collect all the data. So
Because notified bodies, as you mentioned, is also, I mean, you are doing all this to convince notified bodies, if I can say. So at the end, it can be a strategy to give
yeah,
what you have and see what they are telling you, and then making
yeah.
some. So it's also like a game, if I can say. So it's a game where you have to know the rules and play with the game.
Yeah, and ask the right way and use the data that you have. It's not black and white. Evidence is evidence, and it goes with the product. What kind of evidence is available? And of course, there might be gaps, but then close these gaps what's necessary, and just don't pull the trigger of a full PMCF study. Try and see what the notified body would say to match it, right, in different ways.
And in terms of, because you talked also about that when you don't have equivalency, you also try to use PMCF to collect data. So PMCF also was something existing before, but we didn't really talk too much about that. Or maybe, I don't know. In all my companies I worked before, I never really used it. I learned it when MDR came out, and then I learned there was an MedDev for PMCF, and I read it, and then I find out that the new PMCF is a bit different than the previous one, etc. So, how you were managing that with customers, mainly to show them PMCF, like how to design that, how to use that? Was it helpful?
I think it was helpful, and it also made a good sense. I think if I remember back what PMCF was in the old days, it was more complaints and feedback from customers and the literature, so more PMS than actually PMCF. And I like the way that the PMCF is kind of structured, and again, that you have to think and argue, justify why your plan is actually sufficient to show that your product is still safe and performs on the market. So again, you have to think out of the box and see what you have and the data that are available to you. And it gives, you don't have to do a full-blown clinical study for PMCF all the time. It would be nice, of course, and for high-risk class, you probably need it. But for other devices, I would try and find a middle ground based on justification.
Do you have some example of PMCF that were really critical for your customers? Or also, I mean, I never had that, but maybe you have that. I don't know, a PMCF where when you see the results, you confirm that maybe it's not anymore safe, if I can say, to use that. I don't know.
We have, we do have examples where it was difficult to, in real life, mimic because you pull the performance and safety parameters objectives from your clinical evaluation and maybe your pre-studies, pre-CE mark studies into your PMCF. but when the device hits the real world, it was actually difficult to match the objectives, which is a little critical, right? So that's one thing. I think we managed that by some change orders, and also to agree with the notified body of changing slightly the scope of the PMCF. And then we also have an example where it was basically impossible to collect evidence for that type of device. It should have been done over time. It wasn't something that we could fix. And that was really, really critical for a specific client of ours. We managed to get it through good justification and argumentation with the notified body. But this is where please prepare in good time and check it out with your notified body, or your notified body, if this is a doable pathway, because the collection of these data or whatever it is, the plan, it needs to be doable. So if you realize that too late, that this is something we should have done over 3 years to get sufficient data, then you are way too late and you might lose your CE mark, right? So there are critical situations related to the PMCF when it's not being planned properly.
Exactly. I mean, I had this case where a manufacturer got a non-conformity from a notified body about maybe the use, for example, of pediatric products or these products for pediatrics, because there was no data specifically for that on the system. And the manufacturer said, I know that we have some doctors that are using that for pediatrics. And they say, well, let's do a retrospective search of all those data and work on that. But the problem was the doctors don't want to share those data, or there was no agreement to get those data, etc. So it was not something that they can do immediately. So now they have to redo a clinical investigation, including children, because of that. So it's also people that think that, let's open just a PMCF now and we'll collect data. No, a PMCF can also be a long time. It's not like just a 2 weeks search mainly.
No. It's really, again, you need to check out that plan if it's really doable. Because you practically, get to the physicians. As you say, can we get access to these data? Where are the data?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So also in terms of this, since those 20 years, I think you have now maybe a good experience between the before and after MDR with the notified bodies. So was there any change of relationship, or it's now more formal? Or because I remember in my time it was more the notified body was like helping us to be better, so it's more like they come, they give us some advice, do this, do that, and now it's more like a bit stricter, like, no, we are not here to consult. It's always this sentence, we are not here to consult, etc. So do you see also a difference in maybe in clinical or PMCF or other on before and after?
I see that we both have, we are ISO certified 14155, and in our collaboration with the notified body there, we gain a lot of good feedback and discussions during our audits that we have every year. So in that respect, we learn a lot in our own communication on the company. So the ISO 9001 and ISO 14155. What I see after the MDR, I know that they are very more strict and that they cannot consult for sure. We hear that all the time. But I have also experienced a change in the, how can I say that? And it might be because we have more interaction now with the notified body that they seem more accessible.
Yeah.
And when we have these structured dialogue meetings, they come prepared. They have prepared themselves. They, like with the FDA, you get a slide deck. They are not consulting, but they're giving you directions. And I enjoy that. And then I think it's very valuable. And then the fact that most of the larger notified bodies are investing in being present at conferences where the physicians are also. Now, I've just been at the large cardiology conference in San Francisco, TCT, and I meet TÜV there. and we have meetings and we catch up, and it's a brief discussion about modular submissions, and so I get an update kind of, do you know this new things about the, so they're very in a way commercially oriented, if you could, and they're like salespeople, like business development. And I like that because if I'm prepared, if they make me more prepared tomorrow than I was today, then it's a benefit to everyone, because I can go back and then tell our 80 clients, right? Do you know that you can do blah blah blah? So I think it has become easier to work with, and we have much more frequent interactions with the notified body. It's also at conferences. I can call them and invite them, to join, to speak about specific topics. Yeah, we have had podcasts with them. I think they have a different profile, and they have found some really good people to represent them that are easy to talk to. So I find it actually as an improvement.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think at the beginning when MDR was out and the first notified bodies were accredited for MDR, they were a bit difficult to access, difficult to discuss. Each time we ask, they say we cannot tell you, etc., etc. And yeah, it's true. I was at some conferences recently, and yeah, they are really open. They come to us even as
Yeah,
consultants and say, "Oh, if you have some clients, tell us. We can help you. We can make some meetings with them, etc., etc." And
yeah,
the structured dialogue is also a great thing that everybody is promoting also, which is great. So yeah, I
yeah,
hope it will be getting better and better. But I remember
yeah,
those time where we were struggling because of the bottleneck to find a notified body. There are still notified bodies that we are contacting now that say, "Oh no, we have no
yeah,
availability until," but they are open. It's what I like also, is that they are transparent, because
yeah,
before it was like, "Oh, come,
yeah,
we put you on a waiting list and we don't know when we'll be there." And now I have some that says we can sort of start with new customers again in 2 months or 3 months, so you can contact us back. So
yeah,
it's more helpful then.
yeah. It's much more open communication, and it's good for everyone.
So do you recall maybe some the bad part maybe of your job, some failures or some big, yeah, problems with some projects that maybe helped you also to get better, or maybe yeah, made you a lesson, if I can say, for that. So
Mhm.
because we know that people are always talking about their success, we have done this and that, but when we talk about failure, this is something also that we it's difficult. So it's why,
Yeah,
how are we reacting also about that?
yeah. I do think that in most, we rarely have projects that are just, sunshine stories. There are always at a certain point where, if you don't pay really full attention, if you're too busy, or you have change of staff, or it might be change of staff at the client side. If you don't pay attention, there might be this small glitch of loss of trust, I think I will call it. And it's really something that you need to, as a consultant, be very much aware about and react upon. Because I've learned really over the years that if I leave these small glitches of loss of trust, then it's really difficult to recover. I remember once I heard a story about this, about trust between people. It's like putting a small marble,
Yeah,
what's it called, about in a jar. And if you tilt the jar, all the balls will fall out, and you have to put one by one back in.
exactly.
So every time this glass is being pushed and something drops out, you have to work on putting new things in. So as soon as I hear these scratches, I immediately try to fix them. And then, of course, we have all these, oh, I think all consultants have tried these disastrous histories or cases where you just think, how did that,
Exactly.
how did it get to this? And when I tried to, we've had a couple of these cases, and sometimes it just ends by you separate from a client. It might be cultural wise, or it might be that it's bad chemistry or something, and you simply need to split. But there are also where it gets really ugly, and it costs a lot of money, and there also your reputation to think about, and still keeping a good still, even though it's a bad relationship, you have to leave it in a good way. And I think that comes down to um, this again, by listening and be very careful. If you miss this, that people are most of the times with these projects, when you work with startup companies or grow up companies, that people are unknown, incompetent, and you don't pay attention, it can go really bad, because they are in a situation with normally some money that they borrow for someone else. They have a professional board in the backside that are pushing them, and if you don't pay attention and really, as you say, have a good project overview. So not the specialist work, but the project overview. If you don't, if you don't have that, if you miss that, then it can go really wrong. And we have had a couple of cases where we have not had focus on or not been able to scale up the project management, because we thought everything was good and we was doing a good job, and then all of a sudden we thought it was communicated, blah blah blah, whatever the case was, and also the risk, and it comes back, and then when it doesn't turn out to be as good as we hoped, then it's turning against the consultants, with all different kinds. You can lose money and whatever. So we have had situations like that, and you learn every time, and we try to learn as a company. So
it's
they're
also
not
something
always bad, right? You afterwards you think, okay, you shake your feathers and oh, this was really, but you learn so much. I would not recommend to have these cases, but it's really an eye opener. Yeah,
But it's also important to say here that this, as you mentioned, this happens. But you have also, as you mentioned also at the beginning, for people that want really to be a consultant or work on that. So it's like entrepreneurship. So it's like creating your own business, making it grow, etc. And you will have difficulties, and it's not like, oh, I have my first difficulty and I stop everything. I say, oh, it's over. Nobody will trust me anymore. I have to go back to find a job, etc., etc. So no, it's something that will happen. You have to learn from it and overpass it. But you can
yeah,
have. It's why it's important to tell that you can have some people that are. It's difficult for them to overpass some of those difficulties, and maybe this is not a job made for them. Also, to
no,
do that. If at the first difficulty they stop, so maybe it's not really something that they
yeah,
can work on, because you'll have that. I mean, I don't know if you saw this. There was this image where somebody that show a project where he's driving a bicycle from the start to the end. It's like a straight line, and we say the reality of what is real is going over in the
yeah,
mountains, in the lake, in everything. So it's
yeah.
it's not a straight line.
It's not a straight line, and I think there are so many stakeholders in these companies, often startup and grow up companies, that decisions are made which does not seem reasonable or making sense to you, but you have to let it go.
Yeah.
If we are very engaged. Myself, I would crawl a mountain, Mount Everest, for my clients. But if they decide that I'm not supposed to go, I will turn around and climb another mountain. And I learned that, because other it will kill me every time someone said that, right? And I think so. That's a very, I think if you can't do that, you should not be a consultant. And then also I learned, and it's actually my husband, and now I translate it into probably very poor English, but my husband is always saying, when I come home and I say, oh, they're horrible. Everything is bad, he says.
So it's mainly something that, yeah, you have, as you mentioned also about your husband. So is it something that is also important to have somebody close to you that helps you to do all this?
So yes, it's important to have the right people around you. And what I also learned over the years, now growing into a company now with 40 people, is that you need people that are different from yourself. And I think in the start, it was very much people that looked like myself, very nerdy specialist people that wanted to dive in. And every time someone came and asked, maybe people management and you need to, maybe we should have, I was just, you know, couldn't couldn't care. Of course, I care about it, but I don't have that skill in me. So, but now having people around me that really have different angles into what makes a good company just makes a much better company. And people seem happy. The employees seem happy. They are developing. The projects are also coming in, and there are more and more complex projects that we really like. So in that way, have the right people on the bus, as I think someone said in a book, is key, because you can run a one-man band or maybe a three-man band, but if you get to 15 or 25, you need different kind of people, because you will have different kinds of employees, and they will mirror in someone, in the management team. So that's really important.
So people at the office, people at home also. So you have a life. You should have also a life, and not, I suppose, to have a disconnection also of your job.
Yes. So they are based home remotely, and they are at the office, and some come in it's all over the place. That's after COVID, right? I have no clue where they are, but it doesn't really matter anymore. It's not of any interest. And that has changed since before COVID, where we used a lot of energy on how often do you come to the office, and how can you contribute when you only blah, blah, blah. But that has disappeared. Luckily, that was not a very fruitful discussion.
Exactly. Yeah. Another topic, we talk a lot about clinical evaluation, and now we start also to talk a lot about human factors. So, is this also something that maybe you are helping people and you advise people? And did this change also with MDR, or is this something that now is really common for everybody that they have to do it?
I think there is a lack of understanding what human factor engineering is. I learned through a colleague in US, Heidi Mersat, that the importance of good human factor engineering work. And we are now MDR it's actually quite clear in the MDR, but it's not like with the FDA that it's listed out in sections in the MDR about usability, like we have clinical evaluation in the MDR. You have to look for it. But the importance of ensuring that your product is safe to use, and also from a usability aspect, is key. And there is a lack of understanding of the difference between verification and validation, that these are two different things. So this is it's a very specific process you need to go through, and it is to be set aside from verification, and that's very difficult normally for innovative people who has developed a device. They don't really understand that concept. So, but we are in that space also, and are both for the US and the European area developing the documents for that, and are setting. We don't have labs, usability labs, but we are connecting with people that has, and then setting up the test. And I think they are super interesting to participate in, because it's different from clinical, but it smells a little bit about clinical.
How to use it, how to avoid mistakes,
Exactly,
how to do that. So, I mean, it's like being I don't know if I saw some images like that. You are behind the glass where you can see what they are doing, and you can verify if they are doing that correctly, etc. as well. So it's
I
also
have a good example, or maybe an example to not to scare people, but where we went for usability, and it was just the last twist. And I went to US to do it was the summative study, and the first participant came in and said, well, I can't use this product. I just can't use this product here because, and then there was some specifics. So we had to redesign the product. I had to call the client and said, "Ooh, it's developed wrong, this device. So it has really value. So it should not be underestimated."
And so formative studies then should be really used during the
Yes.
projects
Yeah,
to
yeah,
verify that, and not wait at
yeah.
the end that we do the summative that will
No.
be maybe
No.
because as you mentioned, so this can be running a project, running a company also. So if it's a startup
Yeah,
and this was their first product and they paid already a lot of money and they arrive
yeah.
at the end, yeah, it's maybe the end then.
It's maybe the end. And these are not, clinical studies are very expensive, but usability studies, they are super expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you have to make a setup. You have to have
Yeah,
people coming for a full day. I saw somebody that says, oh, first we are giving them the instruction for use to read. Then we go for lunch. And then they come back from lunch and then they are doing what we are expecting them to do just to see if they remember what they
yeah,
read before, etc. So it's really structured. So you have
yeah,
really to do this, yeah, in a
it
good
is.
way,
Yeah,
scientific way. Because I also see some people doing the human factors really basic, but even not structured like an ISO or IEC 62366. And at the end, when we look at the results, there is nothing here. I cannot show that too
there's
much
nothing
fidelity
there.
at all.
No, no,
So
no. And I do, it's like with the clinical evaluation, when you see this flow, being very analytic in your brain, usability is being analytical. It's really based on your risk and how you develop then the documents and the questions and how you're going to, have your users to answer these questions and get the data out. So when you do that perfectly, then it's, I like that.
exactly. So to close maybe this interview, so if you can tell me maybe some advices that you will give, because I suppose that you always maybe sometime when you go to some customers, there is always the same mistakes, the same issues, the same thing. So do you have some kind of top three things that you will advise people to related to some mistakes and that they should be careful of that?
Yeah. I think what very importantly is to learn to listen and don't uh, use your expertise and just apply that blindly to a client. You have to learn to listen to your clients and your stakeholders and find out who's behind the scene and who's next to them, right and left, and then come up with a suggestion. And maybe you need a couple of rounds, so start the contract small and then roll it out. Because again, it can go really wrong if you don't understand the stakeholders in front of you. And then this learn about let thing let things pass. If someone decided that this is going to end, then just shake it and then
Thank
move
you.
on.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you, and then goodbye. Because it becomes very problematic if you're trying to stay in a relationship, it is, with a client where it doesn't really work. So don't force it. If that's the decision, there can be many reasons that are not due to you. Then leave it. It will pass. I've learned that every mistake, every disaster, it passes and then you continue. If you are good and you deliver quality work, it will pass and good things will come back. And as long as you keep yourself authentic and who you are and the team are with you and also deliver good quality work, then you will be fine.
Great.
And then I think the last advice I would be is to be, this about being, have a good sense of what's right and what's not really right, but still be flexible. If you're too hard, you will not get any clients. There will be gray areas where you, as if you're just starting out as a consultant, you will probably be a little scared, but you will learn over the time that being in the gray zone, that is also where you make small miracles sometimes. So
Exactly.
stay in the uncomfortable situations and look for solutions and not be super squared.
Exactly.
then you will become an excellent consultant.
A last question, because I'm always asking that at the end of the interview. So we talk now a lot about AI. We have AI that is starting to enter our lives professionally and also as an individual. So do you think first AI will change the way we do clinical work, or do you think also AI will be even replacing people that are doing clinical work?
I don't think it will be replacing, but I already now think that it is a fantastic tool. It can see things that I can't see.
Yeah,
And
true.
I have 30 years of experience. And my brain literally cannot grasp around what it can grasp. So I already now I can't work without it. So AI is there and it is a wonderful tool. I don't think it will replace me or any of my employees. I think it will make us faster and smarter and be able to do other great things, put other dots together. So I'm not so concerned. We will implement it in all our daily work. And I think also the clients are expecting that. They
Exactly.
expect us to be faster and more precise and comprehend more and simply, do a literature search on 120 articles. It's not for the human brain, right? It's almost impossible. So in that way, I think it's there to stay, and I embrace it completely.
I think you can consider it as an assistant to help you, like
Yeah,
a student or assistant that is helping you. But what I'm always saying, you have still to review the work that they are providing because you
absolutely.
see that they are making mistakes or they
Yeah,
are not
yeah,
understanding completely what you ask
yeah,
them,
yeah.
etc. So it's also important because I saw some people, and it was funny because I saw some client coming to us with some reports that were I see all AI made, but
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
read them, I say the guy has
yeah.
even reviewed anything. He just copy pasted and
Can't
put
do
that in
that.
the file. So it's a funny
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
No, 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 you can't do that. So you have to review it carefully. But I think the beauty is by just twisting the questions a little bit, you can make a change, right? So if you keep that, if you prompt it correctly, you can get, overviews of data that, it will take me months to do the same. So
exactly.
in that way, I think it's a good tool.
So great.
Yeah.
Let's set the right message then. Okay, Ellen, it was really a pleasure. Thank you again for sharing your
Thank you.
journey, sharing your good and bad, and all the things that can help, I hope, or inspire people that will be listening to that. And yeah, let's see maybe in 10 years again what will happen,
Let's
and
meet again.
you can come back.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you,
Thank
Munia.
you. I wish you a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.